On today's installment of Big Al's Garage, Big Al's Top 10 Dream Cars. How y'all doing? Welcome to another installment of Big Al's Garage. Today we are doing another edition of Big Al's Top 10. Today I'm going to be rattling off my top 10 dream cars. These are cars that I personally would love to own, probably never will, for one reason or another. Let's get to it. Coming in at number 10, the 1970 Amc Javelin. Once upon a time, America actually had 4 automakers. I know what you're thinking, yeah, it technically does today with Tesla, but back in the 60s and 70s, America's distant fourth automaker, American Motors Corporation, was the underdog. They owned Jeep, and they made cars under their AMC line. Also, one of the most well-known cars they made was the Rambler. But when GM introduced the Camaro in '67 and Ford introduced the Mustang, AMC decided to get into the pony car market and introduced the Javelin. Wasn't quite as powerful or stylish as the other cars, but it's got that underdog thing going with it. Another cool thing about the AMC Javelin, it was one of the first pony cars to be adapted for police use by the Alabama Highway Patrol. These cars are quite rare and they do start to command premium prices, so I doubt I'll ever own one of these. Too bad. Number 9, 1958 Plymouth Fury in red. I think you all named the Stephen King novel and subsequent movie adaptation.
Talking about Christine, man!
That inspired this one. No, I don't necessarily want a car that will repair itself or brutally murder my enemies or any of the other stuff that happened in that movie or book, but movie cars are definitely fun to own. And being a big Stephen King fan, that is the one to own. Number 8, another movie car. A 1970 Dodge Challenger RT in white. This one comes from 1971's cult classic car chase movie Vanishing Point. I saw this movie when I was between junior and senior year of high school, and there's just something that it kind of helped kindle my car enthusiasm. The image of that white Dodge Challenger streaking across the desert, avoiding the police, really kind of struck that chord of rebelliousness that I think lies within all of us Americans. And it was running quite rampant at the time period, and I think we need a bit more of that given today's climate and the things that are going on in the world. I think that is, again, it's a movie car. Movie cars are cool. Moving on, number 7. Chevy El Camino. What can I say about this car? El Camino. The front looks like a car, the back looks like a truck. The front is where you drive, the back is where, well, you know, you get the idea. I mean, they're cool cars, they're kind of fun to drive, they're good for hauling stuff. And, can I say, they're just cool cars. I've always had a bit of a thing for them. That's why that one makes the list. Number 6. Lamborghini Gallardo. I don't know, there's some, is it spelled Gallardo? It's spelled Gallardo, pronounced Gallardo. Anyway, I'm an automotive YouTuber. I think it's, you know, a law or something like that that I'm required to own one at some point. Unfortunately, I think I missed the boat on buying Ed Bolian's cheap Gallardo, but it's not like I had 30 grand laying around to play with anyway. Who knows, maybe in the future. I don't want to lose my, you know, automotive YouTuber cards. I may have to pick one of them up. Number 5, the Pontiac Fiero. Like the Chevy Corvair before it, the Pontiac Fiero is one of GM's misfit cars. It is one of those cars that GM tried to do something really innovative and ended up cutting corners and getting it wrong and sabotaging themselves. GM, unfortunately, has a very sad habit of doing this. Every time they come out with a really neat, out-of-the-box car, happened with the Corvair, It happened with the Fiero, and it also happened later with the EV1 electric car. The Fiero is a plastic-bodied, mid-engine sports car. Initially it came with their just so-so Iron Duke 4-cylinder engine, starting in 1984, later upgraded to a V6 engine. The car, unfortunately, was built basically out of the parts bin, so they cut some corners there. And the big issue is it had a reputation for engine fires. And this was somewhat warranted, given the 4-cylinder Iron Duke engine was really not meant for sports car application, and people revving it to the stratosphere tended to throw rods and cause fires, but GM did rectify the problem, and by 1988 these were pretty darn cool cars. Anyway, I do definitely want to own all of GM's misfit cars at some point. Fieros are fairly cheap at the moment. Maybe I can track one down. Moving on. Number 4, the Porsche 944. I'm going to have to blame, or credit or blame, whichever, depending on your perspective, Casey Putsch for this one, fellow YouTuber. He kind of piqued my interest in these cars, so to speak. You know, I've gotten to learn a bit about 944s. I think they're criminally underrated cars. They look good. You got the pop-up headlights. I mean, what's more 80s than that? You know? Gotta love the 80s. Moving on to number 3, another 80s car, the Delorean Dmc-12. I mean, stainless steel body panels, gull-wing doors. Yes, they were very underpowered, but come on, Back to the Future. They're cool cars. I would love to own one. Number 2, the Nissan Skyline GTR R32. Car needs no introduction. It's the original Godzilla. And Gran Turismo made a lot of fanboys out of these cars. I think some of the lure is that they're forbidden fruit in this country, being that they were illegal to import until they turned 25 years old. Not that that stopped people. They look cool, they're fast, fun to drive. But of course they are completely impractical for the US because the gauges are all in kilometers and they're right-hand drive. I mean, plenty of videos here on YouTube of people going through the drive-thru backwards in their Skylines. I don't know if I necessarily feel the need to join their ranks, but it would be cool to own one of these cars in dark gray. Finally, we come to number 1, the Acura Rsx Type S. This was one of the cars, along with the Corvair, I lusted over in high school. Love affair began in May or April of 2002. I'm really not sure the date. It was almost hard to believe, almost 20 years ago. My father and I made our annual trip to the New York International Auto Show at the Javits Center in New York. And we got to the Acura Pavilion, and I sat in this RSX, and I saw those red and white gauges and a dash cluster that just seemed to scream, "Take me for a fast ride." 180 horsepower VTEC engine, red line at 8,000 RPM, 6-speed manual. I mean, what more could you want in a sports car? It was stylish, came in cool colors, and high school me was hooked. Unfortunately for me at the time, this car was basically the equivalent of the head cheerleader. Completely unobtainable, way out of my league, not going to happen. As lustful as I was over it. I would love to own one of these cars. Perhaps I'll start looking for one in 2027 when the first '02 models start to qualify for classic car plates and collector car insurance. Until then, I'll enjoy the Corvair, which in high school was basically the equivalent of that kind of offbeat but cute artsy girl who was definitely a bit more obtainable but still out of my league. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed this installment of Big Al's Top 10. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.